Why are gallery press releases written in code? This is Blackbird Rook, writing a weekly essay on contemporary art and the culture around it. This piece was originally written for Plaster magazine. Why are art gallery press releases so difficult to understand? Often the language is dense, ceremonial, and oddly divorced from anything you can see. Phrases drift past like smoke, interstitial residues, embodied thresholds, socio-poetic vectors, all untethered from the objects in front of you. It raises the question, who is this actually for? And a more awkward one, does anyone genuinely understand it? Or are we all just pretending, so as not to look stupid? Before I worked in the art world, I was a television documentary researcher. You're trained very quickly to value clarity over camouflage. If something matters, you need to be able to explain it, not perfectly, not simplistically, but intelligibly. When I struggled to explain a paradoxical legal argument known as the prosecutor's fallacy, a producer handed me 3 children's books by Russell Stannard, the Uncle Albert series, written to explain black holes and Einstein's theory of relativity to young readers. They were charming, lucid, and very clever. They made me realize that you only really understand something if you can explain it to someone else. Which brings me back to the gallery press release. There's a short answer as to why so many of them are written the way they are. It's a performance, not of understanding, but of belonging. A shibboleth. The language signals insider status. It reassures those already within the circle that they're still inside, and gently, or not so gently, repels those who aren't. But I suspect it's also something else. Intellectual insecurity dressed up as sophistication. If you can't explain why a pile of bricks matters without using the word interrogate 3 times, perhaps you don't really understand why it matters yourself. I suspect the flourish and fog often conceal the fact that the writer hasn't quite landed the thought. You might recognize the feeling. You reach for an idea you half understand, then discover a word that seems to contain it. You cling to that word. It buoys you. It carries you just enough to feel like you're swimming. But try offering it to someone else. Try unpacking it, and it slips through your fingers. In the end, it's not a life raft. It's a disguise for the fact that you're still adrift. The tragedy is that this language actively excludes people. Art should be a conversation, not a secret handshake. When press releases read like academic papers written by a distracted AI, they create barriers instead of bridges. They make intelligent, curious people feel foolish for not understanding. I suspect many people in the art world don't genuinely understand this jargon at all. They've just learned to perform comprehension. It's a collective delusion. The emperor's new clothes, but with more mentions of praxis and otherness. Gallery assistants copy phrases from previous releases. Critics echo the same formulations, and artists feel pressure to describe their work in an approved vocabulary that often bears little resemblance to what they're actually doing in the studio. The press release exists supposedly to explain and contextualize. Instead, it often mystifies and excludes. It has become its own peculiar art form, abstract, self-referential, occasionally beautiful in its opacity, but ultimately failing at its primary function: communication. In 2012, Triple Canopy published a now notorious essay on what they called International Art English, a pseudo-academic dialect that wafts through press releases, funding applications, and Biennale catalogues like stale perfume. By their account, it's a language admired more for its opacity than its clarity. Words are borrowed from philosophy and theory, stripped of their rigor, and recast into a slurry of art speak. No one speaks it at dinner. It exists almost exclusively on the page, like Latin or Elvish. Good art writing does exist. Some writers can make you see things differently without making you reach for a dictionary. They understand that clarity isn't dumbing down, it's opening up. They assume intelligence without assuming insider knowledge. If an idea is too ephemeral to explain clearly, maybe that's because it isn't really there. Sometimes obscurity masks emptiness. Other times the work may genuinely be about feeling, atmosphere, or something difficult to pin down. In those cases, the solution isn't theory by habit, but description. Tell us about the quality of light, the texture of surfaces, the way the room feels when you stand in it. Use stories. Use metaphor. Use language that connects rather than intimidates. The best press releases I've read feel like someone genuinely excited about art telling you why you might be excited too. They respect the work and the reader in equal measure. So the solution isn't to abandon complexity or nuance, it's to remember that the goal is understanding, not obfuscation. Every time someone uses praxis when they mean practice or liminal when they mean in between, they're prioritizing performance over communication. Every unnecessarily complex sentence is a small act of gatekeeping and often a way of camouflaging uncertainty. Art can be difficult. It can be challenging. It can even be genuinely incomprehensible. But the writing about it doesn't have to be. The work might interrogate post-capitalist subjectivities, but the press release should still tell us what we're looking at and why it matters. In plain English, press releases shouldn't be a password. They should be a welcome mat. And if a children's book can explain the curvature of space-time, I'm fairly sure we can find better words for a series of abstract paintings in a room. If you'd like an art-speak interpreter, try the Birdsong app at blackbirdrook.com.